Well, hello.
Morning.
It's good to see you. That was a strange hello that I said there. Well, hello.
We're getting used to this live, aren't we?
Yeah, too relaxed I think is a dangerous thing, isn't it? And you can see I'm in my shorts and t-shirt. It is a lovely day. Yeah.
Well,
Good to be with you.
welcome to Coffee and Catch Up, we call this here. So this is just sort of a space where we say hello, we've got coffee. If you're watching live, give us a wee hello in the comments, let us know you're here too.
Yeah, say hello.
And it's really just a space where we kind of chat for a bit and get to share, I suppose, to be honest, usually what God's been talking to us about this week, and hopefully it'll encourage you.
Yeah, hopefully it will. So yeah, really good to see you. Let us know if you're watching, and we'd love to connect with you. And so today we are going to talk about adventure, which is fun. And like we are made for adventure. I think we're just created for that, and so it's exciting to talk about it. So we've got a question for you. Okay,
Right.
I want to ask you, what has been your most memorable adventure? Okay, so what's been your most memorable adventure? Maybe it's like a place that you have traveled to somewhere, like that was just a really great place and you loved it. Maybe it was like something you did as a kid, like adventure in the back garden, adventures you had. Maybe it's like achievement that you had to really work for, and that was a bit of an adventure. So what's your most memorable adventure? If you're watching live, put it in the chat, or if you're watching back, put it in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. So we discovered early on in our marriage, well, I don't know how early on, but my family for holidays, this is like, we absolutely loved adventure. So like, you never stayed in one place for very long. You know, if you were traveling somewhere, you would have to explore every possible avenue that there was, because it was exciting. And so we just grew up. I had 3 brothers. We like grew up going on adventures for holidays. So I remember like one time going down the coast west of Ireland, and it was like one day stopping camping here, one day stopping camping here, and then we'd jump in the sea one day and we'd do something another day. It was great fun, like, and probably family of 4 boys, I'm thinking back, you need to keep it moving, otherwise it's just like tear your hair out. So that was probably something they learned. But then when we got married, I discovered that holidays for everyone aren't about that.
You can't actually have a holiday.
Well, it's just, you can have a different kind of holiday. So and I have actually since discovered the beauty of just being in one place and resting. But anyway, that's we don't need to work this out in front of you, but that's kind of been our journey. Anyway, maybe you found that as well. But what we've discovered as well, though, is that we actually are still hardwired for adventure. We love resting for holidays, but in life we want to be a people that are made for adventure. I think we're all created that way. I think we're created with that DNA in us. We want to dream. We want to be a part of something bigger than us. And so yeah, but life has a way of just squeezing that out sometimes and trying to squash that in us and close in our walls, so it becomes really difficult to continue to dream and believe for something more. So yeah, I see some things in the chat there.
I know. Climbing Mount Rainier at midnight to see the Milky
good.
Way, that is a good adventure story.
That is, yeah, Milky Way.
And
being married to Colin, yeah,
absolutely.
that's an adventure. Yeah, so put them up. That's really good. Good to see you. I've missed some people that are watching there, but that's great. Yeah, so maybe catch them in a minute. So yeah, that's us. Adventure. What's your most memorable adventure?
Yeah, absolutely. And whilst I don't like to adventure on holiday, I do like adventure. You know, like when I think about it and I boil it down, you know, one thing that gets me up in the morning is that I do believe that Jesus is real. I believe that he's powerfully at work, and I believe that he invites me to join him. You know, and it seems outrageous to think that Jesus invites me. I just need to give my yes, my surrender to him, and he invites me to follow him and to go with him and to courageously do what he asked me to do. You know, when I think about that, like, that's what I signed up for. You know, that's what our family signed up for.
Yeah, you signed up for that?
In fact, I remember this conversation with a bit of laughter now, but anyway, the conversation that we had, we were going out, we weren't yet married, and we were sitting having one of those conversations that people dating often have about what you think the future will be like and what your hearts and desires and your dreams are. I remember saying this phrase of, you know, I don't want an ordinary life. I don't want 2.4 kids. We have 3 kids and that's great, and 2.4 would be a bit odd, but you know what I mean. And I had this desire that I don't want an ordinary life. Now, in saying that, you're never going to get me jumping out of an airplane. That's not what I meant. But we're hardwired deep down for adventure.
Yeah.
And like and I think all of us deep down, we want to fully live this life. We want to leave a mark. We want to leave a mark for Jesus. We want it to count. We want it to mean something.
Yeah, I remember that sitting on the bench, Cambridge, Sunny Park, Jesus Green, I think it was. I can't remember now.
That's right. Well, it's called Jesus
there you
Green.
go.
Yeah.
Oh, how beautifully naive we were.
Yep.
But there is something beautiful about that youthful passion, because there's dreams in our hearts and in all of us. What happens though, isn't it, is that we haven't really experienced life, a lot of us. We haven't experienced the curveballs that it throws, the challenges. You haven't experienced the kickback that you get from people, maybe the disappointment that comes, the failures, all that stuff that requires a certain level of tenacity and courage and faith to step into this adventure. And so life has a way of trying to crush adventure, but God wants us to expand our heart so that we can open up to his adventure for us. I love what W.B. Yeats writes, one of our own poets, about the fragility of dreams. He writes this. He says, "Had I the heavens embroidered cloths, enwrought with golden and silver light, the blue and the dim and the dark ones, of night and light and the half-light, I would spread the cloths under your feet. But I, being poor, have only my dreams. I have spread my dreams under your feet. Tread softly, because you tread on my dreams." Dreams can be like that, can't they? It's beautiful, just vulnerable. And then when life starts to kick back, what do we do about that?
Yeah, so what are the dreams in your heart? And how are you stepping into this adventure with God? Maybe for you it starts with saying yes. A yes is surrender, a yes to his invitation of adventure. Or maybe it's actually reframing how you see your current situation. Maybe it's about inviting God to do the extraordinary in what can sometimes seemingly be quite an ordinary day. And then I suppose we want to think about, where has disappointment, life, this current changing situation around us, perhaps our desire for comfort, kept you from moving and stepping into that road less travelled?
Yeah.
And have you talked to God about what's on your heart?
Yeah, good questions. Really good questions.
Very good.
And the Bible's full of stories, the biblical stories full of people that are ordinary, everyday people, but God steps into their story and calls them into an adventure. And, excuse me, I drank my coffee too quickly or something. But it's challenging for them, and it doesn't always go as straightforward. Like I think of the story of Joseph. We think of the technical, the dream coat and stuff, but he had dreams as a young man, of how God had given him a calling and something that he had to step into, but everything goes wrong. Like he gets sold into slavery by his brothers. He gets thrown into prison for something that he didn't even do, and he finds himself there, and it feels like just nothing is going to come about. And then God obviously pulls through for him incredibly. Or I think of the story of Moses. I don't know if you've come across that. Moses has this passion and dream to rescue his people from slavery in Egypt. And he tries to go about it as a young man full of enthusiasm. But he gets himself into difficulty. He ends up killing a Egyptian slave master. And then he goes on the run. And for 40 years, he's just running from this dream that has been on his heart. And then one day, in the middle of looking after sheep in the desert, God speaks to him through a burning bush and says, "Okay, see that dream you had? See that passion you had to rescue your people? I'm calling you to go and do it now." And it's a big back and forth. So there's so many stories of God. I could rhyme off so many, but there's stories of where Jesus calls his disciples to an adventure. But what I'm trying to get at, I think, is that we are ordinary, everyday people, all of us.
Yeah.
But Jesus has given us this invitation to an adventure with him in wherever place we find ourselves, wherever we are, to make the ordinary extraordinary.
Yeah. And what I love is that in the Book of John, there's this verse which talks about how God is always at work around us.
Yeah.
And I love that. God is always pursuing this relationship with us that is real, that is personal. And we know that any relationship that's worth its weight is based on trust. And so God is inviting us to partner with him by trusting him. And he speaks to us to reveal his purpose and his ways and call us deeper into this adventure with him. But what often follows, if you've ever been down this journey of life, is after that, there's this crisis moment. There's this where we get into a tailspin, where maybe our inadequacies come into our face, or the task just seems too big. But it's that moment of faith, of will we step out or will we not? Will we follow? And will we go down that well-worn path, or will we go down the road less travelled? And truth is, the way we choose, that's what makes the difference.
Yeah. It's good. So how can we do that this week? Like, how can we begin to embrace the adventure that God's calling us to in the moment that we find ourselves, wherever we are? How do we re-engage with things maybe that are just lying dormant in us, or that we find disappointment just take the steam or take the stuffing out of us? Is that the word? Yeah, stuffing out of us. How can we re-engage with that a little bit? So here's some thoughts that we had. So the first one is find or create room for your heart to breathe. What I mean by that, like, I imagine you're really busy. I imagine there's a whole ton of things that demand your time and attention right now that just don't necessarily allow you to look beyond the moment. And yet we need that. And you know, as human beings, we're designed for something more because we're created in God's image. And so find space this week with Jesus to open your heart to what he's saying. And that might be going to a park or a beach. You might do it in your room somewhere with paper and pen, but find space with him in the quiet, and just maybe that starts with heart to heart with him. What's really going on, how you're really feeling, what's really happened, and then allow him to begin to speak to you about possibility and what life looks like when he gets involved. That's the first one. Second one, I forgot I was doing the second one too. I thought you were doing the second one, and I was just keep
talking.
Yeah, you would think we had this down really by now. The second one is to throw off the things that entangle us, and so I think there's so many things in life that just get in the way. We all have them, and we all have different ones. You know, things that hold us back. Sometimes it's a voice in our head, you know, that just self-doubt. You know, can you really do this? Are you really going to make it? Or who do you think you are? You know, or maybe it's criticism, maybe it's trauma, maybe it's past hurt. You know, lots of different things. Maybe it's patterns of sin or things that you go to that you know aren't healthy when things get under pressure. So the Bible actually talks about throwing off the things that hinder us, and the sin that so easily entangles in Hebrews, and to run with perseverance and endurance the race that's marked out for us. So there's a point where you just say, right, throw it off, let's go for this thing, let's do it. That's all I got. Dude. That's good.
So our third point then, some more sensible. Our third point is actually remember that Jesus is our example. You know, there's that verse in Hebrews which invites us to consider Jesus, or another way is like to fix our attention on him. You know, as he is our author and our perfecter of our faith. And for that bit in the verse, it says, for the joy set before him. So basically the dream that he had in his heart to see humanity set free and reconciled to God, because of the dream, because of the joy set before him, he endured the cross. You know, and very few of any of us have journeyed that kind of difficulty in the road less travelled. So let's use his example to inspire courage and inspire perseverance in us.
Good. That's really good.
And thank you very much. And the last point then that we wanted to say, and almost a challenge I want to make to you and myself this week, is make a good decision. Okay, so hear me out. So consider one decision that you can make this week that is going to move you towards Jesus, towards this life of adventure that he's calling you to, rather than staying where we are, rather than a decision that pulls us away. You know, one of our friends, Andy Masters, has this phrase which says, decisions create momentum. And you know, that is so true. Making a good decision, even if we find ourselves really stuck, even if it feels a seemingly small decision, making a good decision will create momentum in us towards that direction of a life of adventure with him.
Yeah, great. Good to see a few others on there. Roy, good to see you, mate.
And Dawn's
Colin,
there too.
Dawn Collins, I saw a few others before that. It's hard to keep up with all these things. So that's a really good advice. What one good decision could you make? So that's really us for this morning. What does it look like for you this week to step into the adventure that God has for you, and just to expand your heart? You know, everything probably around you is trying to squeeze it in and create a small story and make you feel like you can't live beyond yourself, but God wants to actually call us to something beyond us, to a story that's beyond us, and to see what is possible in things that look impossible for us. So how are you going to do that? And let's go for it with faith.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's us for this week. Join us on Sunday at 10:30 here on Facebook Live as well. We'll be there as for the Vineyard, and that's going to be super. So join us then 10:30.
That'd be great. Great to connect with you. other than that,
I think that's us before you just waffle on.
I know. I finished my coffee. You know, this is the first time I've finished my coffee. Well,
that's why you're drinking.
That's probably why I was drinking it too quickly. Anyway,
we
will
continue
waffles, so we'll say
we'll
goodbye
see you.
for now.
Have a great week, guys.
Yeah.
Great week.
Great to see you.